Hello, everybody. I am Lisa Ebert. I am the Injury Prevention Chair for the Wisconsin Emergency Nurses Association. And today we're going to talk about some dangerous choices, some healthy choices, and a variety of different topics. We're going to start with a PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to look at different displays that I have set up. So, to initially start out with, I just want to talk a little bit about what is danger and perceived danger. I know before when we've had some of these discussions, there's not always a lot of group discussion. So please feel free to answer as we go along. But otherwise, you know, I think for each person, they decide what is dangerous for themselves. There's some obvious things, but some things that I may be afraid of, but somebody else might not. Sometimes danger can be fun, or it can be that adrenaline rush that people get excited about, but there's still risks associated with it. Why is danger bad? And again, that's the risk part. Working in an emergency department for many years, I see a lot of people that maybe had good intentions, or hey, this sounds like fun, or let me try this. It didn't work out so well for them. So that's the majority of our trauma patients, making choices that led them to where they are. Who decides if danger is good or bad? So a lot of this curriculum came from programs that we used to do, mental health programs we used to do in the schools. So in this case, you know, who decides what is good or bad for you? You make those decisions, and you base it on information that you have in front of you. You also base it on past experiences. So we're going to talk about choices. How do you decide? Sometimes it's based on peer pressure. Sometimes you maybe wouldn't have made that choice if you were by yourself, but your friends can play a significant role. Again, who helps me decide? Depends on who's around you. Who influences me? And for each of you, you have to determine who is that. Is it your parents that influence you? Is it your friends? Is it the internet? Is it things that you saw on the internet that looked fun, and then in reality, when you try them, it doesn't quite work out? We're going to talk about different types of peer pressure. So there's positive peer pressure, there's friendly peer pressure, tempting peer pressure, teasing, and bullying. And again, we're not going to get into these in real depth, just kind of putting a little bit of a description on them. So positive peer pressure. This is when someone urges you to do something that is good for you. So it could be things like, come on, let's practice one more time. Or, you know, positive things. Let's study for tomorrow's test. Let's, it might be something you don't want to do, but yet you know it's probably good for you. So that's your positive peer pressure. Friendly peer pressure. This is when someone who is your friend, and sometimes we forget who is our friends, especially with social media. But someone who is your true friend tries to get you to do something you may or may not want to do. And this is one example here, but we'll have fun together on the roller coaster. Is this the type of danger that you're going to take? And I have some pictures to share throughout this. This is, well, you can see a roller coaster in the background, and then this ride spins around and goes up and down and almost touches the ground. I can tell you my kids were trying to pressure me into riding on that because they kept saying, that'll be fun, that'll be fun. It was not fun. So there are some things that there's peer pressure to do, and you need to trust your own instincts. If it doesn't look fun, you don't need to be the same as everybody else. You can say no to things. Tempting peer pressure. This is when someone tries to persuade or convince you to do something you do not want to do. So an example on the bottom, let's drive real fast and go over the jumps on our ATVs. Again, as I said, I worked in the emergency department for many, many years, and it's usually somebody that says, hey, let me try this. And often drugs and alcohol are involved because, again, and we're going to talk a lot more about that coming up, but drugs and alcohol cloud your vision or cloud your good decision making. And so maybe you wouldn't have tried this had you not had drugs and alcohol on board, but now with the peer pressure and with the influence of drugs and alcohol, you think, yeah, I could try this. This is one example of peer pressure that seemed like a good idea at the time and not so much. Opening your car doors and letting wild donkeys come into the car to eat things. They can be friendly, but they can also not be very friendly. Seemed like a good idea at the time. They looked so cute, but they didn't want to leave. Once they get in your car and they know you have food, they can be kind of mean, and they definitely want in. So thinking about your choices sometimes. Teasing. When someone makes fun of you to try when someone makes fun of you to try to get you to do something you do not want to do. Saying things like, are you chicken? Why won't you try this? Those kind of things. I'm sure you've been in those situations before. Again, sometimes standing up for yourself is not always the easiest, but it's important because you're the one that makes those decisions. This is an example of a poor choice. This is my son when he was younger, and I saw him laying down in the railroad tracks because one of his friends said, hey, that looks fun. So again, poor choices. And bullying. And again, this is just a brief discussion. When someone threatens you physically or verbally in an attempt to get you to do something you do not want to do. If you don't do this, you'll be sorry, things like that. And again, there's a lot of pressure out there to be like everybody else, and you want to fit in. But making good choices ultimately is your decision. I'm going to jump ahead to these few slides, and then we're going to go back to some of the decision making. So as you're making good decisions, safety in vehicles, high priority for me. I'm very involved in motor vehicle safety. Always wearing a seatbelt. Even if your friends are not, or if they say it's not cool, seatbelts are very cool. They're very life-saving, and they're very important to do. So be that trend center and make sure that every time you're in the car, you buckle up. Always use the lap and shoulder belt. Sometimes I see people that have put the shoulder belt behind them because it cuts into their neck, or it's uncomfortable, or they want to lean forward and do something in the car. The lap and shoulder belt are designed to keep you safe together, and they really need to be utilized together. Back seat is by far the safest. Sometimes as we get older, kids kind of think of it as a rite of passage, like, oh, I'm old enough to sit in the front seat. If we all rode in the back seat, which obviously is impossible because somebody's got to drive, but the back seat is by far the safest. Most crashes happen from the front of your vehicle, and if you're in the back seat, typically you're better protected. And don't ride in the back of a truck. There's a campaign called Kids Aren't Cargo, and riding in the back of vehicles, there's no safety belts. All it takes is a bump or a swerve to miss a deer, and you're flying out of that truck. And unfortunately, I've seen way too many fatalities that way. A brief thing on water safety. This summer, I've noticed, especially since we're very limited on maybe travel options, people are getting a little stir crazy staying at home, I think people are exploring the area around us. And we have many beautiful outdoor lakes, ponds, waterfalls, things like that around us. And we've seen an increase in the number of drownings. And often people think that, well, I'm a good swimmer, nothing's going to happen to me. And that's a false sense of security. So we have seen drowning in pools, rivers and lakes, boating accidents, water skiing, jet skis, all of those types of things. So just keep that in mind. Life jackets do make a difference. They do save lives, and they're very important. All right, moving on to alcohol. And please, guys, feel free to ask questions, or if you have comments or stories that you want to share as we go along, just feel free to jump in and ask them. So alcohol. How old do you need to be to drink alcohol? Anybody have an answer for me?
21.
21 is the legal drinking age. Yep. In all of our states throughout the country, or throughout the United States. So 21 is the legal drinking age. Anybody know why? A lot of it has to do with our laws were created to try and protect younger people. And, you know, our drinking age, especially in Wisconsin, has changed. Wisconsin was one of the last states to go to age 21 drinking age. And there was a lot of federal pressure to do that. How does alcohol affect your brain? We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but alcohol is absorbed by your brain. Your brain is like a sponge. Brain, or not my brain maybe, but somebody's brain. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is an example of a brain. This is a model of a brain, and I can take it apart and show you the inside and all the different parts. Your brain is basically a sponge, and it will absorb that alcohol, and it takes a while for it to be processed through, and in the meantime, it alters your ability to function, to think, to make good decisions. And different parts of your brain absorb it at different rates. This part back here is called your cerebellum. This is your balance. This is what makes you walk a straight line. Often when the alcohol is absorbed, this gets affected. So you're unsteady on your feet, leads to a lot more falls or injuries, as well as makes you unsafe. You don't see a straight line to even walk that straight line, that kind of stuff. How does alcohol affect your decisions? And as I said, as it's being absorbed, you don't make good decisions. You're much more adventurous. You're much more risk-taking. There's a lot more risk-taking behavior when you're under the influence of alcohol, and that leads to not good decisions. The same goes for most drugs. So when we just use the word drugs, there's good drugs and there's bad drugs. Working in the healthcare field, there's a lot of drugs or medications that we utilize every day that are very life-saving, that are very important for people to take. Those are prescribed medications. They're prescribed specifically for certain people. So there's prescription medications that might be very important for you to be taking, but they're not meant for you to share with your friends or sell to your friends or other people to utilize. And often we'll see that with things like narcotics or medication for ADHD. We'll see people sharing Ritalin, things like that. So they're good drugs when they're prescribed to you and you use them appropriately. There's a lot of bad drugs out there, and they can be the same drugs, the same medications, but they're used inappropriately or used for somebody they're not prescribed for. There's also all the street drugs, and that astonishes me on a daily basis, all the new drugs that are out there and all the new things that we're seeing. And there's a lot of designer drugs, meaning that they are combination of other things. So we know that certain drugs are stimulants or uppers, and some are downers, and often people are mixing those, and it is not a good combination when it goes together. Why do people use drugs? Any thoughts?
Maybe like to relieve their stress sometimes.
Sometimes. Sometimes they think it's going to make them feel better. They may be very sad, or they know that it makes them more outgoing, or it made them feel good, or they had fun at a party when they tried it, or they see other people doing it and they want to try. And ultimately, there is no good outcomes that come from utilizing street drugs. But there are a lot of reasons that people try. Peer pressure. They want to fit in. They just want to experiment. They want to try different things. And unfortunately, that experiment then turns to addiction. We already talked about how alcohol affects your brain and it affects your decision making. I got ahead of myself there a little bit. Who pays the price for bad choices? So if you make a bad choice, is it going to be your friend that was pressuring you that's going to pay for it? Ultimately, if you choose to do something dangerous, you jump off a bridge into the water, or you ride really fast on a four-wheeler because it looks like a fun idea and you get hurt, you break your leg. Is it your friend who's going to pay for that? That's going to be in a lot of pain, not be able to walk, all of those kind of things? No, ultimately it's going to be you. So we want to make sure that be a winner and make good choices. Because again, ultimately you're the one that pays the price. All right. I am going to okay, I'm gonna stop sharing that. Now I'm gonna do some other presentations and I'll be able to share with you different things. We're gonna talk about alcohol serving sizes, and we're gonna talk about what is a serving size. At some point you may be tempted by someone to try different alcohols. And I just, when somebody says I had one drink, it was only one drink. Well, was it really one serving size? Just like if you compare it to, you go to McDonald's and you order a soda, you could have one soda, but it could be a small, medium, or large. So there's definitely difference in serving size of what you have. Now, I am gonna see if, let me try this. I am gonna try to join on my cell phone so I can utilize my video here. Okay. Mary Jean, is there a way that I can share on my phone?
Yeah, I think you can go down to share screen and go to phone. It says iPhone, iPad. You want me to see if that works? Oh, nope, it says a plugin is required, so.
So it won't let it do it?
Well, it does because John has done it in the past. Let me see. Let's see if there's something.
Because I can see myself as I'm talking.
Participants. Okay, yeah, I can see you on iPhone too.
But you're seeing me on my other.
You know what? I know what it is. I can figure it out. Here. Okay, spotlight video. That's what it is. Now that should be your phone.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to talk loud because I'm going to leave my audio on my other computer. So you tell me if you can't see me. Well, let me flip my. There we go. All right, it's all coming together. So this is a poster called, it's called You Call the Shot. And it's talking about all different alcohol.
Lisa, we can't hardly hear you.
Oh, you can't. How about now? Is that better? Is that better?
Yep, I can see it really well.
Can you hear me better?
No, we can't hear you very well.
Let me try.
Are you putting your laptop right next to the poster?
Yeah, I have it in my hand actually. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Now you can?
Yes.
All right. I guess I'll have to. I'm glad there is nobody in this room watching me juggle this. I'm holding a computer and a phone and trying to do this. So this is a poster that talks about different serving sizes of alcohol. So it starts from way up here in the corner where you have a wine cooler, which is serving size is 0.08, meaning it's not even quite one full serving size. And then we go all the way down here to a certain kind of beer that is 7.2 servings in one bottle of beer. So if somebody says, well, I only had one drink, actually they had 7 drinks. So what a big difference that makes. So I'm gonna slide over here, and this is a display showing all different serving sizes. Now, as you look at it, you think, well, okay, the glass of beer looks like a full serving. Wine, these 2 wine glasses look very different. One looks fairly full, one does not. And in reality, they're both a serving size. It's just the difference in the size of the glass. They both have one typical serving size. So if you have a very big glass, filling it up to the top is probably 3 servings versus 1. This is a mixed drink like a margarita. Here, this glass looks pretty much empty. It looks like there's just some ice in it. And actually this would be a drink on the rocks. And if you got served that, most people would say it's empty. There's hardly anything in there, but that is actually a serving size. And then this shows 2 different size shot glasses that again are the same serving size. It's just, it looks very misleading based on just their shapes. Okay. Then my picture in the back just shows one really tall glass that obviously is not a serving size, but those are the fun drinks, the party drinks that come in super size. And again, that can be very dangerous. So we're gonna jump to, can you see this display? Oh yeah, look at that, I can look in 2 areas here. So a serving size is considered 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of liquor. That's considered an average serving size. All right. Affects the brain. How does it reach the brain? So it enters through your stomach. It goes through your gastrointestinal system.
Oh, can't hear you again.
Oh. It goes through your gastrointestinal system and into the blood and goes into the brain and all the other organs. So that's how alcohol gets into your body. Alcohol itself is a depressant. It slows your brain activity. So it makes you tired, it makes you very tired. The brain gets drunk or anesthetized. That's a word that means basically puts you to sleep. And there's chemical injury that occurs at the same time to the brain. We talked about earlier, why is the drinking age 21? So the brain doesn't reach full physical development until age 25. So even though we may be an adult at 18, our brain is not fully developed yet, which is a good thing. That's why continuing your education right away, going to college, all those things, your brain is ready to absorb all sorts of things. Teens who drink alcohol have 5 times the risk of becoming addicted. Wisconsin has a huge alcohol problem. It is part of what we've considered our culture, but unfortunately, it is a huge risk factor for many of the diseases that we see. And people that start drinking in their teenage years are much more likely to become addicted and have long-term issues. All right. I'm gonna flip through some of this to blood alcohol levels. So when you say, what is the legal limit for drinking? For people under age 21, the legal limit is 0. That is the legal limit because it's illegal to be drinking. Using some of the common terms of blood alcohol level, that's what BAL stands for, of 0.02 is kind of that buzzed feeling. 0.04 to 0.06 is impaired, meaning you're, again, not making good decisions, probably very unsteady, that kind of stuff. .05 is even more impaired. It says 0.08 is our legal limit for Wisconsin. Legal limit for operating a vehicle. And then moving on up to 0.10 to 0.12 is severely impaired. 0.2, death is possible, especially for someone that is not does not normally drink. So a one-time binge or the first time you drink and you have a lot of alcohol. And 0.4, coma and death is likely. So the more you drink, definitely the more dangerous it is. And there is alcohol poisoning is the reality. And I'm going to talk about that. So alcohol poisoning is when the alcohol reaches the center part of the brain that controls the heart and lungs, and the heart and lungs will stop working. So basically, there's so much alcohol in your body and in your brain that it stops those things from working, and you die.
Lisa, your voice is still cutting in and out. Sometimes it's really good, but then sometimes it cuts back out.
Oh, that is really weird, strange, because I am right by my computer.
Okay.
Like you can.
Huh.
Okay. Signs of alcohol poisoning. So if you ever come across any of your friends that have this, they're passing out, they're vomiting, potentially having seizures, their breathing gets really slow, like less than 8 breaths per minute, or very irregular, meaning they breathe and then there'll be no breath at all, and then they'll start breathing again. They also have hypothermia. So alcohol slows down your body temperature. So your skin gets really bluish and your temperature really drops. So these are true emergencies. This is where you need to call 911. So alcohol and energy drinks, that's the next thing we're going to talk about. Often people mix alcohol with energy drinks, or energy drinks are kind of considered the gateway drug, meaning this is where people start. They need a little bit of a stimulant. They think that, oh, alcohol or energy drinks are safe. And in reality, energy drinks can be very bad for you. So we're going to talk about a couple different things with energy drinks and look at different energy drinks. So energy drinks have many stimulants in them. So the stimulants are, they increase your blood pressure, you have heart palpitations. I can't tell you, that is such a frequent visit to the ER is young people, teenagers that come in and their heart is just racing and they're kind of freaking out about it. And usually it's because they've drank energy drinks. Other things that can be caused by energy drinks: strokes, seizures, anxiety, because again, it makes you feel like you're going to jump out of your skin, and raises that heart rate. Sometimes it can cause insomnia. You're just wide awake. You can't go to sleep. Maybe very jittery, very irritable. And the energy drinks, they really have no nutritional value. So they're truly just a stimulant. Here are the FDA regulations or recommendations for caffeine. 12 years and younger, no caffeine. Teens up to a maximum of 100 milligrams, and adults up to 300 milligrams a day. Most energy drinks have between 12 and 15 teaspoons of sugar per 16-ounce can. So that is a lot of caffeine. If we look at a comparison chart, trying to turn my phone to make it a little easier. Coffee, an 8-ounce coffee has about 80 milligrams of caffeine. A Coke has 35 milligrams. Mountain Dew, 54 milligrams. Red Bull, 80. A 2 or 5 hour energy drink, 138. A 16-ounce Monster energy drink, 160. And a 12-ounce Rockstar, the ones that have the 2 times caffeine energy drink, 250 milligrams of caffeine in one drink. So quite significant. Often when you read the labels, and we're going to look at some cans right now and look at the labels, the stimulant amount is mislabeled. So it may say that, or is shouldn't say mislabeled, it's more like it's not as obvious. There's certain words, it'll say caffeine on it, but there's also things like guarana, which is double strength caffeine that enhances the stimulating effect of caffeine, and taurine, which is an amino acid that acts like speed in the body. Both of those are often in energy drinks, but it'll list them separately. So you have to include all of that when you're thinking of the amount of caffeine that is coming in.
Shoot.
When you combine alcohol and energy drinks, and sometimes they can be in one drink, other times people are just mixing them, you have alcohol, which is a depressant, makes you go to sleep, and that's your body's natural response. It makes you go to sleep, so you stop drinking. And it slows the brain function, whereas the energy drink is a stimulant, so it keeps you awake, and often people will continue to drink. Bad combination. All right, we are going to switch to actually looking at some of the energy drinks. So I talked about them being a gateway drug. This is one energy drink. It's called Venom. It's fruit punch. It's orange. It's called Death Adder. Everything about this screams, I'm trying to reach a very young population. This is not something that most adults are going to go into a grocery store and say, oh, I'd like to drink some Venom today. But it's very appealing to teenagers. Often it's middle school age kids that are fascinated by the energy drinks, and it's drawing them in. And the companies that make them know that. So they're really trying to advertise to that younger crowd. So this is one. Rockstar, very popular kind. This one says it's sugar-free, so it's supposed to be good for you. It's triple strength, triple the size. And again, it's gonna have a lot of added caffeine. This one, Java Monster, so it kind of tastes like coffee, but I don't know if you can see the side, that's pretty small on there. It talks about the caffeine, the guarine, the taurine, all of those being listed in there. Other energy drinks, this one is a Rockstar. It talks about its energy and hydration. Well, we know that their energy drinks and caffeine will actually dehydrate you, not rehydrate you. So sometimes people say, well, yeah, I drink plenty during the day, but they're drinking caffeinated sodas or energy drinks, and that's actually drying out your body. So water is the best choice for true hydration. Here's another one that has, it's a great flavor. Again, they're targeting, again, younger kids. This one talks right on the top. It has taurine on it, ginseng, caffeine. It lists all of those. And I'm sure you've seen those in grocery stores or in gas stations. Common place to buy them. Here's a 5-hour energy. Remember, we talked about 5-hour energy having a lot of caffeine. Some people think, oh, this little shot was going to help keep me awake. Only 4 calories, it says. Hours of energy now, no crash later. And again, we know that that part is not true. They even make energy drinks that, here, this is pink lemonade, 5-hour energy. And often they have them right by the checkout in gas stations or convenience stores. And the reason is, as people are thinking, oh, I'm a little tired, I could use that. It's meant to be an impulse item. Another item that I want to share with you, it's called Hangover. And it is sold for the purpose of, if you've had too much alcohol, you drink this and you feel so much better. It doesn't work. And it doesn't work because your body just needs to absorb all that alcohol and get it out of its system. But there's a lot of things on the market that tell you that it will work. All right. Any questions about some of the energy drinks or some of the alcohol or serving sizes? You're all so quiet today.
let's see. Janice said, can you show them the poster one more time?
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try to do that without.
Damien's been chatting and he couldn't hear, but he thought maybe it was because of the beer. And then Meow, he says he hates those, it looks bad. And he knows those are bad and they look bad. Yeah. Okay, so there's the poster again, Janice. Do you have any questions about the poster, Janice?
Nope, I just wanted to see it one more time because last time it was kind of blurry to see.
Oh, okay, good deal.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's good. You can see
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Maybe next year, Ready Camp will be in person and then you can see it in person too.
Yes, and I have many activities that I would love to do with you in person.
Right.
Okay, now I'm going to try to do this other part without my phone so that, wait, can I switch to the sharing this screen?
Yep. There you go.
Oh, okay. All right, let me try this. So I'm going to talk about everyday things that we have around us that look a lot like other poisons or look like things that we may not have considered. And initially when I put this presentation together, it was designed to really focus on children and look-alike things. And the more I presented it, the more I realized it can be any of us that may mistake medication for candy or for other things. So I really want to talk about some of this. I'm going to try to show you a picture and see if that works out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here is a picture of a bunch of different look-alike things. So you notice there's some poisons there, such as the Lysol and the dishwasher detergent, mouthwash, we wouldn't want to drink it all, but yet our Powerade and Hawaiian Punch look exactly the same color. And that can be very misleading. A lot of things that we probably haven't even thought about before. So that's that one. Another thing that is very popular right now are gummy everything. Gummy vitamins, gummy calcium, gummy fiber pills, and it doesn't matter. It used to just be that the kids ones were flavored. Now the adult versions are as well. And we know how much more dangerous this is because they're higher concentrations. So this is actually an example of Centrum vitamins, and they're gumballs. They look exactly, the ones that are on the table are the vitamins, and the one in the packages are the double bubble gumballs. They look exactly the same. So it can be very misleading and could be very dangerous, especially vitamins that have iron in. Iron overdoses, you know, if you took a handful of those and thought they were all gumballs, it can lead to high levels of iron in your body, which can be very dangerous. Back to school time, for those of you that are going back to school, this one I thought was very interesting. The pink one is glue, and most of the glues are non-toxic for that reason, but also if you look at toothpaste, can look very similar. Fixodent is to hold dentures in place. Hand sanitizer can be very colorful. Sometimes it has sparkles in it, and that is very toxic. So sometimes what we think look alike or it's pretty may be dangerous in and of itself. And I have a quick story about toothpaste. When my kids were younger, we were traveling, and it was at night, and I had already taken my contacts out, and I reached in my travel bag to grab my travel size toothpaste, which I did, and I put it on my toothbrush, except I didn't grab the toothpaste. I grabbed a travel size of Desitin, which is to prevent diaper rash. And luckily it has a very strong odor. I couldn't see it because I had my contacts out. I didn't have my glasses on. But as I got it up to my mouth, luckily I could smell that it was Desitin. That would not have been a good thing to put in my mouth. So it can happen very quickly. Another story that reminds me of this is if you see the fixodent over here, or if you think of very small crazy glue. One woman shared with me she had an ear infection and she was putting ointment into her ear, and she mistakenly grabbed a little tube of crazy glue and put that in her ear. It damaged her eardrum because they couldn't get it out, so it damaged the eardrum and caused some permanent hearing loss. So some of our prescription medications look very much like things we have in our homes as well. This was a common cause of childhood poisonings when it first came out. And now I know they sell, at least Tide has a safety container that it comes in. But this looks like treats that come right in their own candy dish for kids. They're fun, they're squishy, they look exciting, and putting a Tide Pod in your mouth and biting down on it can be very toxic. I know there was also challenges out on the internet, the Tide Pod, the Pod Challenge, where teenagers were doing this and challenging each other to bite down on a Tide Pod. Doesn't sound like a real smart choice, but again, when you're under the influence of alcohol or drugs or peer pressure, it may seem like a good idea. But I can share with you, it is not. Some other medications, these are Smarties. I love Smarties. Smarties and chewable Tylenol. So if you notice, they're laying right next to each other. They look pretty much the same. And they both taste good. So again, can be an easy mix-up. This one could cause lots of problems. X-Lax is a laxative, so it makes you need to poop. It looks just like a Hershey candy bar. So definitely not something you want to dig into. A Hershey candy bar, yes. An X-Lax some more would not be very tasty. Well, actually, it probably would be tasty because it has a chocolatey flavor, but you would be miserable later. This one is very dangerous. This is Decon rat poison. And if you notice, it looks just like Nerds. And a Decon, the Decon kits, you pull off that yellow cover and it comes in its own little candy dish basically, and you put it right on the floor and it's readily available. And it tastes good. Not that I've tasted it, but it does taste good. The whole purpose behind it is to get your rats or mice to eat it. Pets also very much eat it. So you need to be very careful with your cats and dogs that they don't get into something like that. And again, it looks just like Nerds. This one, again, is other laxatives. These are just a generic laxative, and they look like the little cinnamon red hot candies. One tastes yummy, one does not. All right, let me grab the other ones. We already talked a little bit about the gummies. These are little critter gummy vitamins, and they look just like the Haribo gummy bears. Taste like them, look like them, but a handful of gummy bears, well, it might not be the most nutritious, is fine for you versus a handful of the gummy vitamins could be very toxic. This is Pine Sol and Listerine, neither of which do you want to drink directly from the bottle. And then the other one is apple juice. Looks very much the same. And sometimes people with their home cleaning supplies, they'll pour them out of another container. So if you poured Pine Sol into another clear container, maybe you wanted it to be a smaller one, that's a huge danger for anyone around that they may grab it and drink it. These two look exactly alike. This is nicotine gum. It's the generic version or equate version of nicotine gum and Eclipse gum. And I know it's looking, and is it backwards to you on your screen or only on my screen? Well, anyway, the both of them are gum. The nicotine gum is going to give you that all that excess nicotine. So again, look very similar. And then the last one that I want to talk about is this is aspirin. And I have some aspirin laying out on the table along with M&Ms and Skittles. And you really, they look very much alike. It's hard to tell the difference. A handful of aspirin would be very dangerous. It would thin your blood. It can cause a lot of internal bleeding. Whereas a handful of Skittles is delicious, or a handful of M&Ms. But when you can't tell the difference, it can be dangerous. All right. Any other look-alike things that you can think of, things that you may have in your home that you know are dangerous?
No, but Damien had mentioned, whoa, so similar, OMG.
All right, any other questions or anything you want me to review, or is there stuff that you didn't hear very clearly before when I was trying to do it on my cell phone that I can go over again?
No, thank you so much for the very great presentation. It was very detailed and I really liked it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, next year I hope that we can be in person, because I have the Fatal Vision goggles, which are awesome. It simulates being under the influence, and it's amazing to put those on and try to walk a straight line or catch a ball or do anything like that. I also have a headset that you put on, and it echoes inside of your head while you're trying to do even simple tasks, and it kind of simulates what happens when you are high or under the influence of certain drugs, and how hard it is to concentrate. And those are really fun activities to share. So hopefully next year we can do it in person.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Lisa.
All right.
All right, and just want to remind everyone to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell so that you receive the new videos. And then also give Lisa a thumbs up for today's presentation. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. There you go. Janice gave you a thumbs up right now.
Wait.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, Damien did too. There you go. Anyway, tomorrow's presentation will be Rochelle Ethan again, and she's going to talk about the QPR: question, persuade, and respond, I think it stands for. About how you can help others who are having emotional problems and how to identify them and to be able to help if someone is thinking about harming themselves. Okay, so all right, we will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Lisa.